I think you're in for quite a treat. How many people here were on the call that Jay did about a month ago, where he grilled some of our elites about some of their success stories? Were you guys on that call? All right, great. So we have a unique opportunity right now. Jay, once again, is going to go ahead and talk to some of our top elite coaching clients about some of the success that they've had in the past, and kind of tie it all together in a nice little package with a bow on top for us.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's welcome everybody to the stage. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, bear with me because my voice is still not very strong. I'm going to do something I hope has my whole prejudice for you, not at you, but for you, is doing things that will have even more impact when you're home than it's going to have here. So one of the things that we've been able to do around the world, look, people ask me, how am I able to do what I am? And the reason I am is that I've had the privilege, I'm looking at you guys too, they get my back, of traveling around the world many, many times and interacting in 465 industries. Anybody here who's traveled at all know when you travel outside your city or your state or your country or your continent, it expands your mind. You see different ways of doing thinking, moralities, traditions, architecture, climates, culture, food, everything. Well, when you travel amongst high performers, even if they're all high performing, you will see distinctions, ways of looking, thinking, connecting, many of which they have never really recognized themselves or articulated themselves. It sort of became the natural way they embraced Jay's stuff, Mike's stuff, some other influence, in or outside of real estate, synthesized together, worked through the way their brain is wired, and bazam, they're doing extraordinary or at least exceptionally better than the normal. My goal is to do, I don't want to make it sound sterile. I don't want to say a clinical extraction. Let's say a driving force extraction where we'll do some probative sort of Socratic interviews, not real deep because I'm on limited time, but intensive of each one with the objective intention of trying to hit what I'll call pay dirt. And sometime maybe as a service to all you, I'll do a follow-up conference call with Jay and Mike, and I'll teach you guys Socratic interviewing and the process and how to get to pay dirt. But we're looking for pay dirt. What is pay dirt? Pay dirt is an understanding, a distinction, a realization, an epiphany, truthfully and most desirably, which is made concurrently by the person and the audience. But if the person knows themselves deeply, they may just understand it and articulate it. If we can make the person have a discovery while you discover what they're discovering, they'll grow even more because they'll grasp what is driving their success and they'll be more focused on it. A good example and a true example, and I'm going to tell everybody before this session is over, my $500,000 investment in psychoanalysis and what I got out of it. But when I was, in 1986, I went through a divorce. Reasons don't matter, but I didn't work for 2 years. Before I stopped working, I was making $10 million a year. When I stopped, I owed about $5 million and I had no income. And I had to get back into the world, and I'd stopped doing what I did then, which was privately counseling clients. And I thought, well, I'd better force myself, because I always did it intuitively, I always did it naturally and spontaneously. I never knew why, how, or anything I did. I thought, I better force myself to go within and articulate and codify and define what makes me unique. Because if I don't know it, I can't really, because I've forgotten it. And I did a seminar for that purpose, and it was quite profound because I learned a lot about myself. So what I'm going to do is just go one after another, and I'll probably go left, right, left, right. I don't know anything about you guys. If I already talked to you, great. But I'm going to ask you to help me accelerate this. This is not a place for immodesty. So If you're doing kick-ass great, tell me so I can focus on what your strength is, and I'll ask you questions. As you answer, please don't be offended, because stylistically, if my voice doesn't give out, I will step on you. I'm stepping on you not to be rude, but to be respectful, because I want to move to the next, and the connective, because I'm not here for you, although I want to engineer a breakthrough for you. I'm here for you guys, and I'm your advocate, even though you're looking at my back. Okay? So I'm looking at you, so we'll start with you. Tell me, first of all, what I should know about whatever your distinction is so they appreciate it, and be immodest as heck, but just get me right to the point of what are you doing that's so special, and what is unique about your success right now?
Just generating.
And hold it like that. Is it on? Let's see. Okay. It is? Hello, hello? Okay. At an angle.
I think what I've done well is just generate a lot of opportunity, a lot of leads.
And is your business doing really well?
Really well.
Okay. On a comparative basis, because I want people to appreciate a lot of leads sounds okay, but if a lot of leads translate to the fact that your average competitor is selling 5 when you're selling 55 or whatever it is, that's a little more profound. So how do those lots of leads lead to your success? How much is your success right now on a comparative basis?
We'll generate, so my business has doubled 2 years in a row. We'll generate 500 buyer leads a month and 150 to 200 seller leads a month.
Okay, so let's talk lead generation, okay? So I'm going to presume, and I'm going to impute some meaningful weight that Jay and Mike have had on you, and I know there might be other influences, but let's not worry about who the influences were. Let's worry right now about what the influence taught you. So before you started becoming more masterful at lead generating, what was your old attitude? Let's call it the pre success and mastery, or at least greater mastery. Before that, how did you look at leads? How did you generate leads? What did you do typically?
Probably more scarcity.
What is that? That's general. And by the way, never take me, but I'm their advocate. Scarcity doesn't mean anything. What's it mean to you?
Just more of a desperate feeling, less leads.
So how did you go about finding them? What was the process, the scarcity-driven, fear-based process that you used to generate those leads before you changed your strategy?
I'm not following the...
Okay, well, you're scarcity-based, so you're feeling not very confident. So are you spending less? Are you doing less? Are you going less? There's something you were doing then. You still were doing something. Maybe you were timid. Maybe you weren't aggressive. Maybe you were just going after lousy sources. What were you doing before this all changed?
Okay, yeah, for me it was using print advertising, running an ad, trying to get people to read a newspaper, to go to a website.
That was the totality of your lead generation?
Pretty much.
And was it working?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you made a cathartic realization that you didn't have to be scarcity-based. You could be, what's the opposite of scarcity?
Abundance.
Abundance-based, and that meant what to you? Because definitions, I mean, one word might mean and conjure up totally different imagery in him and him and him and her and you. What does it mean to you?
Abundance. Well, abundance for me, I guess, not just leads. It's the ability to impact the lives of multiple salespeople on my team.
So you have a commitment, a heartfelt, long-term commitment that you're going to help create great success professionally, personally, and in the economic and the lives of all the people that work with you.
Yep.
And that's going to be created by them impacting people in the market, right?
Yep.
Okay, so when you made that distinction, how did that change your lead generation strategy?
I'm having trouble with this.
Okay, let me change the question. So before you made that decision, you were running ads in the newspaper, and that was pretty much it. And they were generating some leads, and those leads, some of them converted. But then you expanded your horizon. You went from that to that, and then theoretically, if you're getting 500 leads, unless you're getting them all from the newspaper, you radically expanded, changed, shifted, rethought your strategy. I'm putting words in your mouth.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I want to know. What happened?
So for me, you know, going out as a single agent and paying $1,250 a month for a game-changing piece of technology, you know, where other people that did it might have had a team of 5 agents behind them.
So you did it just for you?
Just for me.
And then now you got all these leads and you can't handle them.
Yep.
So then what happens?
Get people.
Pretty good, but it's probably not as hard to get people when you say I got leads.
Yeah, a lot easier.
Okay, and is that, in your opinion, that there's 2 parallel universes? One is, for lack of a better word, the courage, the ballsiness to go out and commit to something bigger than an individual would normally, particularly a fear-based individual would allow themselves. And secondly, a concurrent commitment to use that opportunity to grow and develop lives. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's what I sort of hear you saying.
Yeah, I mean, so my first hire was, he sold 2 homes before I met him. He swung a hammer, you know, as a contractor for 10 years before that. And he took home 75 grand in his pocket, you know, his first year with me. So
and how does that make you feel?
Awesome. You know, because he can't do, without the tools that I have and the leadership that I give him, he cannot do what he does. You know, he couldn't put it all together. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but he'll break through 110,000 this year.
And how does that make you feel?
Awesome.
Now, I'm going to also be your CSI agent. I'm going to zero in on little nuances that probably don't matter because you're all probably following Jay and Mike's process, but he said leader in a very specific way. What do you think the role of a leader is in your real estate business in wherever city it is?
Just bringing out in people what they might not see in themselves.
Believing in them, developing them, supporting them, growing them. Well, one of the things that I made a distinction, I told you I'm helping this company in Mexico, and I had a lot of difficulty changing their cultural ideology because they came from a direct selling background where they would just churn through people. And I said, do you think people really spend all day wanting to fail? I mean, you're asking people to entrust their lives to you when you give them a job. You're theoretically saying, I have enough ability to gauge your compatibility, your potential, and then you're saying, I have the ability, the willingness, and the capability, it's all non-verbalized, to train, develop, support, course correct you, give you an environment that will be successful. And again, not necessarily verbalized or otherwise. What I'm asking of you is trust me and give back, really, isn't it? But there's a big responsibility, but a big payoff, don't you think?
Yeah.
So how does it feel now that you're the leader of the development of the lives, careers, futures, and contributions of all these people who work with you?
It's a bit overwhelming at times.
But it's probably a lot satisfying at times, isn't it?
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time.
But life is overwhelming.
Yeah, even my staff, you know, there's not a lot of opportunity in other industries necessarily. And just knowing that, you know, I think I have about 12 or 13 people that I'm directly impacting. Also other countries, we have virtual assistants in the Philippines and
that help you.
That we're helping them as well.
And was that something you learned or you just developed it yourself? And I'm not looking to credit anyone, I just want to know the source so that everyone can at least, you don't have to, by the way, accept anything you hear here. You do have, as a courtesy to me and them, since they're openly answering, you have to carefully evaluate, examine, consider, reflect, just acknowledge there might be different things other people do that you don't, that perhaps you could embrace totally, partially, in a variation that might help you. So,
for me, it was specifically it was a Tony Robbins. I've done a lot of Tony Robbins stuff in the last, I guess, year or so, and at a UPW event, just realizing that the needs and
what was the aha that you realized?
Well, for me, I've been driven by certain things in my life based on whatever my story was, you know, my upbringing or whatever crap it was, and just to realize why I was always driven to succeed. But for me, it could have gone a very different direction where I was spending a lot of time in real estate, working, a lot of hours just because I needed to be successful, but not knowing why. But then to really, to flip it around and the ultimate.
And now you have the why.
Yeah.
The why is what?
My family.
Okay. And specifically?
My children.
And we want to give them a better life, a greater future?
Yeah,
what
just a life that none of us thought was possible.
But are you allowing yourself balance in all this too?
That's the cool thing. So just this year, as a result of going through some of the Tony Robbins stuff, realizing that growth and contribution is what it's all about.
Feels great, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't work any evenings. I don't work any weekends. And I've taken 8 weeks vacation off. I've done like 2 guys trips, 5 or 6 trips with my wife alone, and then 2 full weeks with the family and several.
I could go a lot deeper, but I want to get as many as I can. So summarize 3 lessons, observations, recommendations that you would have for everybody here. Lessons you've learned that maybe they don't yet see, that you've sort of thought about as you talked. Observations you've made that maybe if you crystallize them, they may not like it, but they might think about it. And recommendations that if you were they, you would think differently about.
For me, I mean, leverage through people and technology has been an overwhelming asset for me. Leadership, it's now like 90% of my job. I don't have to meet with clients, but I have to make sure that my team is delivering the service or the product in a way that is going to ultimately serve the client. And then just with everything now, I've learned to attach meaning to it. So,
for example,
working out used to be the first thing to drop off on my. Just don't have time for it. Now it's like, no matter what, I can think of just 2 things that can trigger me, no matter how my day is going, how busy, and I'll just go work out.
Good. What should they start doing different?
I would just start. I mean, the book Start With Why. I mean, really have the reason why you're doing this. I mean, because selling houses, I mean, not every client is totally appreciative. There's a lot of buyers that know it all and sellers that can, sell their own house. And but just attaching a meaning to why you're in this business, and that it is the biggest deal for sellers and buyers, and they're stressful. Buyers think they're going to buy at the wrong time, and sellers are, just wanting to get more when the
Good.
dollars aren't there.
Okay, only because I want to get as many as we can for time. Thank you. Now I'm going to try you. So tell me your distinction, being immodest, and let's go deep.
Testing. So I kind of feel like Lars, very similar stories.
It's okay.
So my distinction, I think, is I just refuse to lose. I have this really weird, hyper-competitive.
Always?
Yeah. I mean, it's always been there. It hasn't been as aggressive as it is now.
Is it good aggressive?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So Lars is my boy, but seeing him, up here getting the big award, I was kind of pissed off that it wasn't me.
Well, you can go and yank it off his head and run.
So no, it's just I think it's healthy because it's helped me to create a better life for me and my family. Are
you operating? Obviously, you're successful, and your success is founded, fueled, predicated on some 1 or 2 really big fundamentals or ideals. What would they be?
I think at first would just be my faith, my spiritual journey.
Okay.
Making sure that I'm right with God, and then 2 would be my family. I mean, that's my 2 daughters, my wife. I've pictures. I mean, a big part of my big why, and when I don't want to pick up the phone or I don't want to do something, that's what I latch onto is my family, to make sure that just again, as Lars said, based on my background, things could have gone very differently for us.
Were you already in real estate?
What's my background?
Yes.
No, I sold pharmaceuticals for about 4.5 legally,
okay.
For
That's
about
funny.
4.5 years.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this. you're talking about when you don't want to do something, your family, but when you do want to do it, what's driving the do besides the family? Is there another passion? It doesn't have to be. I'm just trying to get to what makes you tick.
I'm afraid of being broke. I mean, and this is good therapy for me. If
My pleasure.
My mom, long story short, my mom raised 3 of us by herself, and we were, by American standards, we were poor.
Okay.
So I think it's just a healthy, unhealthy fear of never going back there, and certainly never taking my family to that place. And just, I think being a provider really motivates me.
So let me ask you this, not that there's anything negative about that, but in your daily life work yourself with whatever team you may or may not have, do you have a connection to the market also in a different context, or is it, and by the way, there's no right or wrong. There's all kinds of different power sources that govern the achievement, the drive, the purpose of every human being. It's not incumbent on me to be judgmental, it's incumbent on me to try to examine different belief systems and behaviors and decide, hey, can you add some of that? Hey, can you? So is that it, or is there anything else? And I'm not trying to be conclusive, I'm just asking.
In terms of what?
Well, you're
motivates
successful.
me, or-
What if there anything else besides here's family, here's fear of losing, here's competitiveness? Is that the whole, are they those 3 components, or is that a fourth of 100? I mean, I don't know.
No, sir. I mean, I think, and this is just my perception of what
It's your
motivates me.
reality.
Could be something completely different.
It's your reality.
I have a team as well, and as Lars said, I think it's back to that being a provider, and it's my mother's influence. I think again as well. I mean, I like that role, so I feel responsible for my team members. I also feel responsible for I don't work with buyers anymore, but if I did, it would be the same way. I feel responsible for the success of the outcome of that transaction as well, in a very big way, and it's probably unhealthy to some degree. I have a hard time letting go when I fail, or when I don't get a listing, or but that it has to, that deep sense of that I feel of caring about everything that I do professionally. I think I have to take it back to my mom.
Okay, so okay, if that drives you and your success, what about that might be beneficial for everyone here to think about, to add entirely or a strand of to what they are? If you were to make a recommendation that you think might benefit everybody, that they could borrow a piece, a filament, the whole thing, any part of what you think contributes to your success as an achiever, or your success as a leader, or your success as a competitor, what would you say might be an element everyone could consider adding to their quiver?
Wow. So I'd say standing on the shoulders of giants, right? I mean, it's why we're here. And as Lars said, I mean, I think we can all agree that if you can harness the power of that why, I mean, truly harness it, I believe it. Will Smith was talking about it on the video. I just believe there's nothing that I personally can't accomplish if I attach my why to it and I really focus on it. It's the focus piece is why I'm here, and the implementation piece is what I struggle with. But in terms of the desire, because my why is so strong, I know I can do anything.
Okay, so now you're talking about I, which is good. Now talk about you for a minute. So what should...
Same thing. So same thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just, if you haven't already, I mean, I know we all have different stories and different backgrounds. It's maybe it is as simple as writing it down, or spending, or maybe psychotherapy, or spending time with yourself, truly reflecting on what is important, in your life and why you get out of bed in the morning. When I sold pharmaceuticals, I dreaded getting out of bed in the morning because I hated what I did. I didn't enjoy what I did. Now I get out of bed with passion.
And is the passion, is it connected to many different?
Absolutely.
Passion for the people, passion for your team,
Yes, sir.
passion for your family?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. But yeah, I mean, I just think you really have, I know this is an obvious statement, but not having that why, or if you have the wrong why, I just don't think you can reach your true potential.
Great, thank you. By the way, I'm not going to have time. If this were, and I'm not being rude, if this were one of my programs, we would go through everybody, and then we'd have you guys as a table share the biggest distinctions that each one of you got, and then we would have you vote on the biggest distinction that everyone else should hear, and then we'd have you stand to the mic. We can't do that because it's not my program, and my voice is going to go anyhow. So what you could do at the break is do like a little, go up to 5 people and tell them whatever 1 or 2 or 3 distinctions you got that you weren't thinking about before. All right?
Okay, so just kind of, I've been processing.
So you're going to shortcut this?
Maybe.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think some of the things that are kind of a big why, or what's driving me is, you know, I had an experience that really grounded me in a faith and belief in God and our own unlimited, not just potential, but our own unlimited nature that I think we all are, and it's not in me, it's in everyone and in everything, it's that we're all unlimited. And for me, this experience of pursuing my business is, it's a game to transcend these limitations. So to see and figure and find out, it's every time I transcend one of these limitations, a little bit more of that, whatever that divine nature, whatever you want to call it, is revealed. And
Okay.
so I think,
Now give me an example of a transcendental moment.
I mean, anytime I have an aha or an insight or a breakthrough, I mean, in my business, if I'm looking for, let me think about an example.
What do you do? Let me ask you, maybe make it easier. Do you, because I sometimes let the dynamic go good, bad. My hope is to isolate things you do, special, different, ways you think that can be not made concrete, but clear to people who don't think that way, who don't do that, who don't see that connection, not necessarily so they'll do it, but necessarily so they'll think about, should I do it? If I do that and accomplish that for you guys, I'm very happy. So with that as maybe a governing direction, is there anything you want to revisit?
Yeah, one idea that was kind of a big one for me that was put through by Gary Keller of Keller Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And what he shared with me, said that most successful people don't let their own willpower determine their success. And that kind of sparked.
What does that mean to you?
What that means to me is if I'm pushing and trying as hard as I can, I'm giving it 100% and I'm not getting the results that I want, then I'm missing something. I'm missing a relationship or some information, something. And that was a huge aha for me.
Good.
And then the second one, actually Gary Keller too, was that I'm not in the real estate business. I'm in the lead generation business, and I happen to provide real estate services.
That's interesting. See, this company that I'm working with in Mexico, they thought they were selling homes. And I had to work for a year to convince them that homes are the vehicle that transforms lives. It's very interesting. And you gotta, when you reframe things, it's very powerful, isn't it? So take those two distinctions, shake them up, re-articulate them so that everyone sitting here can get a take-home moment that they may or may not use, but at least it'll haunt them with a provocative sense of reconsideration.
I think there's a deep knowing within everyone that we're all unlimited, and if you're not getting what you want out of your experience and you're giving all you got, seek someone out, seek something out, and whether it's coaching or whatever it was, that's what it happened to be for me. I kind of hit that plateau, and coaching was one thing for me that just helped me go to that next level. And I love it because I see it as a game now. I mean, I just get to tap into these ideas and resources, and it does let me be a contributor and a leader in some of these things that Lars talked about. And that's I think why we're here, to make a difference. So
That's great. And remember when my voice like this was trying to give you those 9 leverage points: ideology, strategy, business model, all those things. I mean, the problem with life is that we think we have to follow the dictums or the reference frame of everybody ahead of us, and there's no law that says that. They're not going to arrest you and knock on your door at night, and the Gestapo's not going to kick down and take you away if you decide to shift strategy. Also, the concept of creative collaboration. Leverage, I mean, there's only a finite amount of leverage you can get yourself. There's an infinite amount of leverage you can get by collaborating with others, and that has implications that are vast, whether it's coaches, team members, referral partners. But that's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi.
Okay.
Okay.
My big why, is that what you were?
Well, first of all, what should we know about? I feel like I'm aging myself, and there's only a handful of people here my age or in that vicinity. Remember What's My Line? Everyone would say, who's Mystery Man? What's his line? So what should we know about you to appreciate what you're going to share with us?
Well, I've had my license for 21 years.
Okay.
And I was very successful right off the bat. I was very fortunate. Had a builder, and anyway, had good income right off the bat.
Good.
And but I was doing it the traditional way. I was, going out, open houses. Did open houses every weekend for the first year I was in the business. And then in 1998, Deb came in business with me, and we're with Keller Williams, and we've been hearing about treating our business like a business versus a sales job. So we changed everything, which I'd already started that change in a way, but Deb came from the corporate world, and she started trying to do the same thing I did, and it was like 2 chiefs and no Indians. So we completely changed that around, and Deb took a different role, the corporate role of our business, and I took the leadership role and the sales role mainly. So that's how we built our business.
Okay. And then, is there anything that's changed or evolved in the last couple of years? Doesn't have to be. I'm just trying, keep in mind, my job is to honor you, but give them breakthroughs. So I'm trying to be a bridge, a torque converter, an extractor, an extrapolator. So is there anything we should know about ways you think, things you do, distinctions you've made or together you've made, things unique about you that you observe? Everybody doesn't see it the same way, and you believe maybe some of what you do might be beneficial. Not that you're shoving it down their throat, just something you might want to focus in on and explain very quickly so that they could consider it.
Definitely. I'm a great lead generator, or was at one time for sure, but I would generate leads, and I don't know if you're kind of a one-man show, I didn't have time to do everything I needed to do. So without a doubt, when we changed our business and bought buyer agents on, was a total different deal.
Now you migrate and you advance them, and you have a good generation and migration process?
We do, and in trade out, Deb and I's goal was to have more time off. I don't work weekends, I don't work evenings, and to give opportunity to other agents to build their lives and meet their dreams. And
Are you having a good time?
Oh, I love what I do. I'm passionate about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, are you going to have a different story? Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
okay, then we'll come to you in a minute. Thank you. Okay. Hello?
Hello.
You look happy?
Yeah, always.
Always, that's good.
It's a great life.
Okay, so what should we know about you before you start telling us your story?
I guess I followed my dream. I had a dream to be at the beach.
Okay.
Was in the corporate world.
Okay.
Hated every day of it. Did not like doing what I did.
Got it.
Met my wife. She was from the beach.
Okay.
Moved there.
Okay.
All right, how can I make this happen?
You're reconciling the two. That's all right. Now, what
Yeah,
beach?
Then we were at the Jersey Shore.
Okay.
So what had happened was, once I revealed my dream and the lifestyle that I wanted to live, I just wanted to share it and share it with as many people as I could. And such it turned into a prosperous real estate career.
Okay. So now you've got a prosperous business. And is he as happy as he looks? Very cool. What do you think drives that happiness?
I think just being content with who you are in your own skin.
What does that mean to you?
Not trying to be somebody that you're not, using your own skills and personality and letting it be out to other folks. Because I think that's genuine and people recognize that.
And you don't have to think about what you're going to do or say because it just
No.
flows naturally, doesn't it?
Because even when we go through the scripts with Wally and Cliff, you have to internalize it and make it your own. And I think that just is the way you should live your life. You know, you take bits and pieces from you or mentors like Mike and Jay,
Yeah.
and you turn it into how it works for you.
Good. So in your real estate business today, are there strategies, tactics, attitudes, belief systems, behaviors that you follow or your team follows or you have recognized that make a difference that perhaps everyone here doesn't think about or do and might benefit from at least considering? If so, what might they be?
Maybe helping people understand what their true dreams are,
Can you elaborate for a minute?
the happiness spent with their family, building memories, not necessarily the bricks and mortar of what they get out of a home, but what they're surrounding themselves with, not only with their house, but their community and what they want to be in.
Okay. And by the way, I'm not judgmental. I'm just listening. Anything else? Doesn't have to be.
No, I think.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Occasionally, probably not often here, because you've got a lot of successful, aspiring people, you see people who get stuck or who are struggling to break through barriers. What would you tell them based on what you are doing and have done and you have observed of them they might consider thinking about differently or doing differently, if anything? And you don't have to say anything to them, but you talk to people, you watch them, you have compassion. What do you think?
Well, I think it's always been resonated through this group that seeking success and modeling other successful folks and taking what it is that they're using to be successful and implementing that into, you know.
And I totally agree. I would editorialize and say most people miss the boat on modeling. They model superficially instead of really deep below the surface. But you got to model mindset, attitude, where the mindset came from, how it manifests, how people define different words, what imagery comes in their mind. If you really and truly want to accelerate your ability to model. Thank you. Okay? Now you're going to tell a different story.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Gary and I went into business in '98,
Okay.
and I did not like the real estate business.
What were you doing
at all.
before that?
Consultant.
Okay.
And so I had I was part of a large
Okay.
publicly held
Okay.
corporation. Loved what I did, but I had to get on a plane
Yes.
every week, and for family decisions and to build wealth for our future, this was a smarter move. And so I left a vocation that I really loved and then came over to real estate. And for Gary Keller to pretty much hand us a business model that I knew how to implement
Okay.
was a game changer then. That was the platform, because I'm not a salesperson.
So it was laid out and it was very structurally, do
Absolutely.
this, do this, do this. Okay.
And Gary and I make a joke, and I wondered if he was going to say it. Between us, we make one really good realtor. Because he really is the person who can go and sell and consult. I don't even like that word. Consult and help people make wise decisions. And I'm the person in the team that basically I'm the CEO for the team.
Got it. Good. So, okay. So that's cool, but I'm not going to let you off the hook. You got to give something tangible that's a distinction that perhaps, by the way, does Mo Anderson, is she still with
Oh, yes.
You know, she was one of our proteges back when she used to be in Oklahoma. This is showing you how old I am.
She recruited Gary.
It's funny. She's a pretty dynamic woman. I remember when she first sold her business and had a non-compete. This is, oh crime, I go back 89 or something. Very, very dynamic woman. So what's the one or two specific realizations, recommendations, insights, mind shifts that you might recommend everybody here at least play around with in their mind, think about a little bit, evaluate, that might be different than you see them doing right now, if any?
Things have changed for me. Prior to coming to Kinder Reese, I was extremely competitive.
In terms of?
Everything.
Okay, and now?
My why is about success through others. And my joy and my passion, it really and truly is seeing others succeed and learning how I'm the leverage tool for them to be successful. That's new for me.
And that's a hard transition if
new.
you've been either a one-person dynamo and or a control freak. I'm not saying you were either, but I'm saying
Both.
that's very hard. And normally, I'm going to assume, I haven't looked at your industry for a long time, but the transitional period isn't always fun and games and profit. You have to have not blind faith, but sustaining faith, not just in the model, but in the people, don't you?
Exactly.
And in the end game you're playing? That's good. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something that I guess would help you understand a little bit about me is I come from a family of entrepreneurs, of
Good.
business owners. I started selling when I was 5.
Really?
Lemonade and cookies.
Okay, very cool.
Not at a profitable level, unfortunately for my parents, but they were funding me.
That's
but
funny.
I've been selling something ever since I was a child.
Okay.
Transitioned into real estate, sold a business in 2004 for a tremendous amount of money.
Okay.
And in that years of working in that business, met so many unbelievable people that had such great wealth. And their wealth did not come from working 9 to 5. Their wealth came from amassing a real estate portfolio.
Okay.
And as a kid and growing up as a teenager and in my early 20s, selling to these folks, I realized I've got to amass real estate also because that's really the key to wealth.
Yes.
Sold my business in 2004 for a boatload of money, invested a lot of it in real estate, and lost just about everything. Yeah. So made millions and lost
So what's the
millions.
lesson there?
Don't be so highly leveraged.
Okay.
That's the lesson there. And my lesson there also would be I invested in things with a partner that I wasn't comfortable doing. I liked the little houses, the little deals. My partner said, come on, we got to spend the big money and get to go for the big money and the big deals. And I felt like a little squirrel with my little nuts, and I was happy with that. Like I said, I made a lot and I lost a lot. In 2005, my husband convinced us to have children, and I say convinced. And then while I was in my 9th month of pregnancy, I got my real estate license.
Wow.
I was home, I was bored, and I thought, well, what the hell? I've got nothing else better to do for the next 40 hours of my time. Let me go get one, or 90 hours, whatever it was. So I went to real estate school 2 weeks before we had our son.
Okay.
And got my license because I felt like that would be an opportunity for me to transition into something that I really believed in. I knew that wealth, you could build a lot of wealth through real estate, learn very quickly you could lose a lot of wealth through real estate, and wanted to help people to amass wealth for their families and for future generations.
Okay, and so fast forward.
Here we are today. We've grown our business dramatically over the past number of years. We've really come from the bottom and are really working our way to rising back to the top. We make people's dreams come true. I truly love working with distressed sellers because I understand that position and really can come from a helpful heart and give them good advice and good guidance. Something that I try to convey to my clients and something that everyone can take away from here today is that we have a huge responsibility. It's not necessarily just a fiduciary responsibility because we have a real estate license. We have a huge responsibility to the people that we help, both our buyers and our sellers, particularly our buyers, because we're helping them make huge financial decisions that are going to affect their futures, their children's futures, and their children's children's futures. And of course, with our sellers, we have a huge responsibility in offering the best expert advice that we can possibly give them to help them make huge financial decisions. And this is something that I say to my clients. When I'm working with a buyer and they've put forth an offer and they'll say, I'm feeling kind of nervous, or I feel like they feel nervous. I say to them, you should be nervous. We're taking a big step here together. And I tell my clients, I recognize my responsibility to you. And I recognize the importance, the huge financial decision that you're about to make. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's a positive experience and make sure that ultimately it works out for them.
That's great. I really like that. It's being very preeminent. Thank you. Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm 30 years old.
Hold on
and,
an angle like that.
Can you hear me now? Test?
Yeah, but it works better like that. A little 45 degree.
Gotcha.
Okay.
At 30 years old, currently, and when I was 23, I got laid off from corporate America.
Okay.
So that's sort of my big why as to, why I wanted to create something that is wonderful for people to show up every day to work in a fun environment and a safe environment that we could go out together. And if I can change internally the office, then we can go out together and externally change the world.
And are you doing that?
We are.
Okay, so what's driving your success?
I think just a hardcore work ethic.
And what is your work ethic?
We show up every day together as a team. We have synergy and culture, and we just work together to, if somebody's out of town, we cover each other, help each other out the best that we can. We leverage off of each other.
Just stop for a minute. Define and explain what your interpretation of synergy and culture is.
Well, we're friends. We're best friends as well as work colleagues and partners. We hang out together at work and after work and on the weekends.
What's your culture?
Just a attempt to go out and change the world together. We feel like if we can change ourselves internally, then we've got the ability to help others outside of the industry.
Now, changing the world through what mechanism?
Through real estate, and also the profits that come from real estate we can reinvest into, nonprofit organizations and things like that.
Okay, so of all the things that you might do, see, have recognized that have been a driver of your success, is there any one or two that you think would be very, very intriguing to share right now with everybody out there?
Yeah, two. Number one is don't let the size of your dream overwhelm you. It's an elephant, but it's got to be eaten one bite at a time. So the idea is, if you want to go out and sell 150, 200 houses, whenever I was sitting in the audience selling 15 houses a year, the problem is it seemed like something you could never get to, but if you set goals and you do it one day at a time, work together with your people in your office, then you eventually will get there.
Great, that's wonderful. Okay, this has been great. What I'd like to do, I know we're out of time, or maybe we're not, but I'm almost out of voice, but I want to do something, and I can't see. Is there a couple, can we take these mics and put them out in the audience for a minute? Is there anybody who can be a mic runner? Is there anybody here who, watching and listening, got an insight or a distinction, or maybe not a realization, maybe a realization, an epiphany, or maybe just a fascination that you hadn't thought about before that had a positive impact, that maybe your interpretation might be even different, skewed, evolved, translated differently, that might be worth sharing real quickly? If so, I can't see, but if there's anybody with a mic, raise your hand and stand and just sort of try to summarize it. Keep in mind, when you make declarations like this in a room, your goal is to help everyone, and sometimes you can be passionate about yourself, so you have to throttle and bridge what you want to say about yourself, and also offer it up to everybody if you can. I can't see who's got the mic, but go ahead. Hi.
I think,
Is it on back here?
I think the common theme that I see between everybody up there is self-reliance. I think we live in a world right now where most people want to rely on their employers or the government to provide safety for them. And all of these people have created their own safety and their own self-reliance.
Good. All right, thank you. By the way, there's no right or wrong. I just wondered what your impressions were. Who else has a mic or a hand?
I have a mic, Jay.
Oh, hi.
Quick question here. Can I ask a question before I make a comment?
Yeah. You can change the rules.
Okay,
I don't care.
Okay, sorry. It's going to be very powerful.
Okay.
Everyone seems highly motivated, self-dependent, self-awareness. It's awesome, unbelievable. Take yourself and $20,000, jump in an airplane or get in the airplane, jump out of an airplane and land in a city that you are not familiar with that $20,000, how do you make 250 sales in that year?
Well, but that may or may not
If there was three,
well, if
there's
anybody wants
three
to
things.
answer it,
Yeah,
you know,
there's three things, basically, three things to lead generate to start that business in the city. What would be the top three things?
so, okay, so try the question. So you want to know, I want to go into a new city, or I want to go into the field. I want to build a very successful business.
Correct.
Preferably right away, but in a reasonable time, and I want to do it by generating quality leads that get converted, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the question is, what would you do first?
What would be the three top things that they would do first?
Okay, anybody want to try to answer that? Go ahead.
Are we selling real estate?
Of course.
Just curious.
That's good. Go ahead, Jeff. What would you tell them?
I think number one for me, I could do it with $1,000, would be a pay-per-click campaign and an unbranded website.
Okay, all right. Anybody else got one? Go ahead.
I would go hire 3 really good agents that were not meeting their potential, and I would coach them to that next level, because that's what I found, that there's folks out there,
There are.
they're just mediocre.
But let me give you the flaw in the concept. It presupposes you have the understanding, the ability, the discipline, and the compassion and the love to coach them. Put that in place, you're right. But without it, you can do both sides terrible, terrible, terrible,
Correct.
irreparable harm. But you're right with that caveat. Anybody else have one?
Correct.
I would start with Brent Grove's open house on steroids.
Okay.
And I mean, for a minimum amount of money, get somebody else's listing and go host it and open it and just find buyers and just do it.
Okay.
No, I would say same thing. Brent Gove open house, and some buyer lead generation, whether it's a non-branded website, Tiger Leads, Boomtown. Because the one distinction I got last conference I was here last year, that was a game changer for me. I was highly leveraged in short sales at the time, and pushed it. We took about 50 listings, and got about 30 of them closed. But as Jay shared something from another business conference, I don't know if it was yours, but he said one of the keys to growing a company quickly was to shorten the sales cycle. And in that moment, I said, shit. I realized I can go out and get 100 of these things, but if they take 6 to 9 months to close, I can't really grow. Yeah. And then I looked at what's the shortest sales cycle, where's the now money in real estate? It's with buyers.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And so to answer your question, yeah, drop me in a city, let's get some buyers.
Great.
How do you get the buyers? How do you get to there, right? How do you get the buyers?
The Brent Gove open house. Brent Gove open house for sure.
Okay. Another one?
Yeah, no question with that first, but the low-hanging fruit, I mean, I think expireds and FSBOs would be second for me, knowing what I know now. If I had to start over, I would perfect expireds first, FSBOs second, but definitely Brent Grove's open house would be the first thing that I would do, because I think that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have an insight too?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I see across the board is a big paradigm shift, a big self-awareness. Like they just woke up one day and literally you're a different person, or you've taken the nut, stripped off the shell, and the real you has now come out. That's what really we see. That's what's happened.
I would agree. Okay. Anybody else? I can't see. None? None? Who? Okay, please, I'm sorry, my eyes. Go ahead, stand if your hand's up. Over here.
I had a question just about creating a culture and a synergy. I mean, a lot of that probably is from leadership down, right? But my question is how have you guys gone about doing that? I mean, it sounds like most of you guys have formed teams. How do you go about, I guess, when you find the talent, creating the culture that, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you like teach, the flip side to that is training people, right? And then if the culture's not there, they're like, oh, I could do this myself, I'm out, you know, and go somewhere else, and you spend
That's a great
year or
insight.
two.
So how do you build a culture that really nourishes people to the point they don't want to leave, makes them more successful with you than they could be without you, and makes them really feel part of a bigger vision? I think is what, anybody want to answer that?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that.
Yeah, go for it.
So, I mean, I think this is one of the great value propositions we have with Jay and Mike's system, is that we get to create through their systems not just lead generation, but systems of accountability, because there's all kinds of coaching programs out there that are just really about holding people accountable. I won't name names, but They're really just focused on scripts and accountability and highly tactical, and they don't have much lead generation other than doing this. And what Jay and Mike offer, they offer us systems for lead generation as well as a system for accountability. And it's the combination of the two that really creates success. You can't have just accountability without the lead generation. You can't have just the lead generation without some set of accountability, because people just won't make the calls. And so we're finding that we create a culture of success. And one quote from Buckminster Fuller was, environment is stronger than will. So you can put somebody who's a moderate performer in an environment that is a structured environment that has this culture of accountability, and there's this culture of support and really trying to nurture and grow and develop these people, and you're going to take an average person and make them a superstar. And so I think with what they've offered us, we can create that culture through really kind of the systems that are here. But then you want to add some fun stuff too. Like we're doing things once a quarter now, looking to take our team out on some team building stuff. We just did some indoor kart racing, at the end of one of the quarters when we hit our certain goals and things. So just to kind of have that synergy. But I would say, having a structured system of accountability, the daily huddles that these guys do are there, and they really help.
Good.
Just chime in?
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the books that I'm reading, everybody knows who Dave Ramsey is Entree Leadership. Awesome book. And he talks about when his culture really shifted was when his mission statement became that he was selling not books and not seminars and not tapes, but he was selling hope. And if you know what Dave Ramsey's system is, I mean, the whole debt-free existence, I mean, he really is selling hope. So when people, when his salespeople, when his delivery people, when they got behind that and realized that they weren't shipping books, the mission statement was, we're packaging and shipping hope to these families that are desperate. And I thought that could be transferred into our industry very easily. And then the other thing that hit me hard recently was hug your employees. Same author as Hug Your Customers, Jack Canfield, I believe. But he just goes into showing your people that you care consistently. And one of the ideas came to me. I was reading one morning, Monday. We do a Monday morning huddle. And I just randomly went to a grocery store and picked up a bouquet of flowers for all the ladies on our staff, and $50 gift cards for everybody on our team. And when they walked into the conference room, the flowers were laid out for them. And I'd actually never done anything like that before. And one of the ladies actually started to cry. I think she has some emotional issues, but that's another. But it really impacted, and I started to cry too, but that's a whole other issue. But the impact that had on the culture was tremendous. And I think if you show your people that you care, that you really care, it goes a long way.
That's great. And he made a great point, which is subtle. If you can get everybody in your business, not just people in the front line, but everyone processing paper, answering the phone, seeing that they are playing a pivotal, integrated part in the transformation of lives, and they're really passionately seeing that their effort makes a difference, it goes a long way. Only because I'm going to do one more session, and my voice is, I took a lozenge, but I got about another hour and 15 or so in me. I'm going to stop it and ask you to have if it works okay, guys, your little break, and then come back as soon as you can. But I will tell you, you can leave. It's okay, go ahead. You can be rude to me, go ahead. I wasn't done, that's all right. I've had many people be ruder. So you want to know what I learned paying $500,000 for therapy. Okay, so first of all, you have to have a context. I'm 63 now, not quite, but close enough. And when I was in my early 30s, I was a phenom. I was. And I was making all kinds of money, and I was just the cool guy in entrepreneurialism, and everybody was coming to me. Everyone wanted to do business with me, and I was selling out $15,000, $25,000 seminars. Scary. And I was having anticlimactic realizations of life. And so I went to all these different therapists, and I'll tell you the interesting thing, which is funny. I refused to pay for 45 minutes. I would buy them for a week. And I'd say, I want a whole week. I may use it, may not, but I had all these screwed up people in my office, and if I couldn't use some of it, I would send them, and it was hilarious because they'd come back saying, "Oh, thank you so much." But one of the things that happened after about 7 or 8 different people that I had really gone to, I made a realization, and it was quite profound in its elegant simplicity, and also was a driving force. And then another event occurred that complemented, and I'll tell you both of them. The one guy that made the biggest impression said, most everybody is obsessed in their life with the end product. They want to be the most successful realtor in their market. They want to sell 800 homes this year. They want to have the biggest house, the most holdings, the prettiest wife, or the handsomest husband, or the best car collection. If you're unlucky enough to get that for that reason alone, and you're thinking that the heavens are going to open and the angels are going to trumpet and euphoria is going to prevail and all your woes will disappear and people will throw flowers at your feet and genuflex, it won't happen. The process is what life is all about. This discussion is as good as it gets. It's very nice that we're having it with people who are compelled to be meaningful and make contribution, but if we were having it with the janitor, it would be no different. And when you start enjoying the process and the people and realizing everybody is just as important and studying and thinking everyone sees life different and trying to investigate and understand and appreciate and respect different perspectives, it makes life so much better. Fast forward. A couple of years later, I was fortunate enough to meet Fran Tarkenton right when he stopped doing TV. He had had a very successful public company that got bought by another one, and some really bad things happened, and the stock blew up, and he was very embarrassed, and he went through a very painful period as far as his public PR. And then he went through a very interesting catharsis, and I really fortunately met him right then, and he had a belief system he shared with me, and I thought it was cooler than heck. What he said was, he believes this, he lives this, and when I try doing it, always, it's quite powerful. Anytime two people come together for any reason, meaningful, you can see somebody in the hall, in the elevator, the maid sweeping the floor. Your responsibility, your obligation, and your privilege is to make their life better because you were in it, by whatever means is appropriate. And if you do that, it's pretty cool. But those are my little lessons. Why don't you take 15 minutes or whatever you guys need, and
hold on. I'm sorry, I got to announce something.
I'm looking.
Right over here. Sorry, I have to announce something before they go. Apologize.
Oh, you scared me.
Sorry.
A voice from somewhere else.
Sorry, but I would like to genuflect at you, though. So give you one for the day.
Got the flowers, too, for my feet?
Yes, out of this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So, all right. When you're done, I'll go.
I'm done.
All right, thank you. Let's give a big round of applause, everybody.
I'm going to leave.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Thanks.
Thanks.
Let's give our panel a big applause, too. Thank you very much.